Uncle Dan.
Hey.
I'm trying to think of the
Are you
smallest.
okay? Are you having a stroke?
I was having I was stroking there. I'm trying to think of the smallest country to which I've ever been. And I think the smallest country to which I've been is Liechtenstein.
Yeah, I was there with you.
That's a tiny one.
It's very beautiful place. Very pretty place.
Stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
I was on a train that went past, I don't think through, but past Angora, which is little.
Yeah.
And
Angola or Andorra, or is it a conflation of those
Andorra.
two? Yeah.
Andorra.
Pandora.
What did I say? I don't know what I said.
You said
Anyway.
Angora, which I think is a sweater.
Sure, why not?
Dan took a train past a sweater
I
one
probably have taken a train past a sweater
Yeah.
at some point.
Doug,
So
what's
Andorra is what I meant.
How about you? You have any small countries in mind?
I have not only been to Liechtenstein with you. I actually have been to the smallest country in the world. I poked my foot in.
Yeah.
The Vatican City.
Yes.
And the ruler of that particular tiny little golden kingdom is someone I'd like to talk about today. At one of those many rulers.
Yeah.
There have been a lot. Yeah. I actually tried to look up a comprehensive, just for the purposes of this segment, a comprehensive list.
They're not
of
clear.
All of the popes.
It's not very clear, is it?
There's not a list. There are many, depending on who you're talking to, and there's moments where there wasn't a pope, or there were 3 popes, and this pope disqualified that previous pope. It's like, okay, fuck it.
There was that one time when there was an anti-pope.
Yeah,
that's
right.
right.
There was an anti-pope, and then they dug up a pope and put him on trial twice. And
anti-Popeye Nephi.
Yeah, I think the list I found was like over 260 or something like that.
Yeah, it's bananas. But anyway, there's one I want to talk about today. Well, your uncles, as has been vividly demonstrated over the last several years, who's in charge of our institutions matters a great deal, especially when crises occur. At the best of times, poor leadership can miss opportunities for improvement, and at the worst of times, poor leadership can lead to the unnecessary deaths of over 500,000 Americans.
Yeah,
that can happen. That just shit happens. We can hope that when these crises come, they come slowly and one at a time, such that even bad leadership has the chance at overcoming it. But there have been moments in history when massive existential crises came from so many directions and all at once that perhaps no leader could possibly navigate such troubled waters. And when the institution in question is a dictatorial blood cult led by a clutch of hysterical, sinister virgins, hat tip, Christopher Hitchens, the chances that leadership of that institution are going to be up to the task are quite slim. The institution I'm talking about, of course, is the Catholic Church, and the leader I'm getting around to referring to is Pope Clement VII.
Oh, yeah.
We all, hooray! Fan favorite.
PC7 is what I call him.
I just call him Sette.
Sette.
Papa Sette.
Pope
Papa Sette.
Pope Clement VII, as we'll see, may have actually been one of the most intelligent, erudite, and qualified men to ever lead the Catholic Church. However, he had the extremist.
Those are not qualifications they typically look for.
Yeah, that's not their bread and butter there.
Exactly. I mean, it's the bar is low, and it's like being the best Trump child. It's a low bar, right? But he had the extreme misfortune to be the leader at an inflection point in history that was the equivalent of a dozen extinction-level asteroids all careening toward the church he led at the same time.
Oh, dear. His
bungling of these many crises led Clement VII to be known forever as the most unfortunate of the popes.
Oh.
And that's true.
Really?
Pronunciation,
it's an unfortunate nickname, too, so there you go.
It works on many levels. Pronunciation disclaimer here. I'm going to say a bunch of Italian words, and I'm going to say them in a terribly offensive faux Italian accent, because I can't help it. If you're offended by all that, all I can say to you is, hey, what's the matter you?
Oh, my God.
Good. Excellent. Well done.
What's the matter you?
I'm not going to do it. Don't worry. Originally named Giulio de' Medici, he was born in Florence, Italy.
Oh, boy.
He was born in Florence, Italy on May 26, 1478. His father was Giuliano de' Medici, head of, as we'll see, one of the most powerful families in Italian history, the notorious Medicis. His mother was unknown, making Giulio a damn bastard. Illegitimacy at the time disqualified one from being pope, and Giulio's creative solution to this obstacle was truly innovative. It consisted of, let's see here, being rich. So,
Yeah. It's a good one.
exactly 1 month before he was born, his father was murdered by enemies of the Medici family in what was called the Pazzi conspiracy. The Pazzi conspiracy is worthy of its own segment someday, but the rough details are totally worth mentioning because they are bonkers. The Medicis were the most powerful family in Florence at the time. The family would go on, for example, to produce 4 popes, 2 queens of France, and countless dukes, lords, princes, and princesses.
Wow.
They were not without their rivals, including the powerful Salviati and Pazzi families, as well as Pope Sixtus at the time, the current pope at the time, Pope Sixtus. These families, with a very carefully worded but unmistakable letter of support from Pope Sixtus, attempted to murder the 2 heads of the Medici family, Giuliano and Lorenzo. The attempt was during broad daylight, right after Mass. Giuliano was stabbed 19 times and took a sword through the head.
Jesus.
He didn't recover. Lorenzo.
He's okay. He's okay.
Lorenzo managed to escape, although badly injured. So the coup failed, and the Medicis were not in a forgiving mood.
I remember that because then Michael
That's right.
met with the head of the other family and they thought he was a civilian.
In a pizza
and then
place.
He ends up killing Tessio.
And
I don't remember the whole thing, but
There was
yeah,
a dagger
I
taped
remember
to the
that.
back of a toilet tank.
It's all
It's a sword.
Time is a flat pizza pie. So roughly 80 people were executed for the conspiracy.
Wow.
Francesco de Pazzi was hanged from the windows of the Palazzo della Signora.
Jesus.
A gory scene that was reenacted by Hannibal Lecter in the 2001 film Hannibal. Jacopo de Pazzi, the head of the family, was hunted down and brought back to Florence, where he was tortured and then hanged from the same window next to the still rotting corpse of his nephew. His ordeal was far from over. He was then buried, dug up, and tossed in a ditch, then dragged to the streets and propped up against the door of Palazzo Pazzi, where his rotting head was used as a door knocker. Then he was thrown in the Arno River, but children fished him out and hung him from a willow tree, and flogged him before finally tossing whatever was left back into the river, where he was pronounced dead.
Oh, kids used to have such fun.
Hold on, I'm just writing.
This was before the video games. You know when kids had wholesome fun before video games came around?
I'm just writing down, don't fuck with the Medicis. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. The remaining Pazzi were banished from Florence. Their lands and properties confiscated. Their coat of arms was erased from public registers.
Wow.
And their name was scrubbed from any buildings or streets that bore it. Wow. Anyone named Pazzi had to take on a new name. Anyone married to a Pazzi was barred from public office. And it's possible that some 500 years later, the family name is the origin of the term patsy.
No
as
way.
in the dupe that takes the fall for a conspiracy. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Mark, just like you said, the moral of the story is never go in against a Medici when death is on the line. So it was into this dynasty that Giuliano was born. He was raised by his surviving uncle Lorenzo, a.k.a. Lorenzo the Magnificent. As will become apparent, people in this period of history really liked titles and nicknames.
Can we just start calling me Uncle Dan the Magnificent?
Right.
Just for a day. I don't know.
It's
Just
so
sounds
funny,
good.
too, because he's not even the only the Magnificent in this story.
No, sure. Once one guy does it, everybody's going to start doing it.
Once you pop that bottle.
He was a fan.
Yeah, exactly. Lorenzo raised Giuliano as one of his own sons, along with his son Giovanni, who would go on to be Pope Leo X, and another of Lorenzo's sons, Piero the Unfortunate. So, I don't know why. Poor guy.
Do you choose your own thing? Is it like, or does the mayor do it? Like, you're magnificent, you're unfortunate, you're average.
Because there's so many titles in this story, I actually tried to figure that out, and I could not figure out who went around handing out titles back then. Although initially barred from high office in the Catholic Church because of his illegitimacy, he ran with many of the higher mucky mucks in the Catholic Church, and in the otherwise unremarkable year of 1492, he attended the first papal conclave to take place in the brand new but yet undecorated Sistine Chapel. Wow. Giulio was definitely it's kind of crazy how much of a nexus this moment in time was.
Huh.
And Giulio was definitely a product of it. As a member of the aristocracy during the height and epicenter of the Italian Renaissance, Giulio benefited greatly from the opportunities that were afforded to him. He became a musician, he studied under some of the leading lights of the era, and became friends with Michelangelo and Raphael.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds a little suspicious.
Yeah,
what kind of clubs did they go to?
But not the other two Ninja Turtles?
No, the other two that came along after. He even became a soldier for a time and fought valiantly in the Battle of Ravenna. On paper, he was impressive. When his cousin Giovanni became Pope Leo X in 1513, he simply declared Giulio's birth legitimate and named him Archbishop of Florence, later ordaining him Cardinal Deacon of Santa Maria de Dominica, and then eventually Vice-Chancellor of the Church.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, lots of people in history don't know who their father was.
Right.
Right? Because it was one and done. Bang, he's out, gone. Nobody knows. Right?
Yeah.
How does the mom pull that off?
That's a great question. I don't know. Right? It's a very good question.
Like, if she goes out for a pack of smokes, you go with her, right? It's like,
right, exactly.
Okay, I don't know how that worked.
Well, and, for a good several months before you're born, kind of everybody knows she's pregnant. Anyway,
yeah,
that's a fair point. I don't have an answer for you.
All right.
So eventually, Giulio becomes the chancellor, vice chancellor of the church, which is the second most powerful position in Catholicism. It's good to have powerful friends.
Yeah.
Under Leo, Giulio became incredibly powerful within the Catholic Church and solidified his political position over Florence. So when Pope Leo died in 1521, everyone thought Giulio was a shoo-in. Instead, through all kinds of political machinations, an unknown Dutchman named Adrian Diebel became pope, taking on the very imaginative name Pope Adrian. Yeah, Dutch dude.
Huh.
Kind of still... So because he was a Medici, there were all kinds of people that were arrayed against him. They managed to kind of splinter the vote and get this Dutch guy who nobody knew kind of came away with it.
Because all the popes for centuries were Italian, right?
Yep. Yeah, so, I don't think he was the first non-Italian pope, but he was one of the non-Italian popes.
Right.
So Pope Adrian only reigned for 20 months, and Giulio used that time to ensure his eventual election, which happened and occurred in late 1523. Taking the name Pope Clement VII, he promised to bring his education and wily political reputation to the service of the papacy. Here's the thing, though. Michael Scott was a fine leader of the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin at the time. The biggest crises he ever faced were those zany shenanigans by Jim.
Yeah.
However, history will never know how effective he would have been if his time as branch manager had coincided with an earthquake, a plague of locusts, a paper embargo, an outbreak of cholera, an invasion, and a race riot all taking place in Scranton at the same time. That's more or less what Pope Clement VII was walking into in 1523.
Oh, geez.
Here's just a partial list of the major crises that this pope inherited or oversaw during his 10-year papacy. A continent rich with gold and defended by surprisingly killable natives had just been discovered. The land grab and killing spree that ensued would scramble all the existing power structures in Europe, and the Catholic Church was no exception. So that's in the background. Yeah. It was just before his papacy began that a disgruntled German monk tacked his 95 grievances to a door in Wittenberg. As a general rule, you never want a disgruntled German keeping a list of complaints against you. And this was certainly the case here.
I don't know, man. This guy's a Medici. I know how those fucking people are.
Yeah, for real. It was in 1521, just mere months before Clement became pope, that at the Diet of Worms, the schism that would lead to the Protestant Reformation truly began because of Martin Luther. Not the kind of news you want to find out on your first day.
It's kind of amazing that Luther didn't end up hanging from a window.
Yeah,
when you think about it.
Yeah, it's true, and that's very true. It was during Clement's papacy that a very randy Englishman decided that although he wanted to have sex with pretty much every woman in his field of view, his wife was not on that list. In 1527, Pope Clement rejected Henry VIII's request for divorce from Catherine of Aragon. Let's just say that Clement grossly underestimated Henry's sex drive, leading to all of England bouncing from the church in 1532.
Yeah. Wow.
Henry VIII divorced and turned out Catherine and married his sweetheart Anne Boleyn the next year. They seemed like such an adorable and enduring couple that I stopped reading about them at that point. I'm sure everything worked out.
Everything was fine.
Yeah, exactly. She met with a similar fate as Medusa. Actually.
Yeah, this is definitely we've again accidental themes. Women being beheaded.
Going here.
Yeah, truly. If these massive internal struggles were not enough, it was during Clement's papacy that Europe saw more of its territory fall into Muslim Ottoman hands than at any other time in history. Under the leadership of Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottomans rolled over Central Europe all the way to the gates of Vienna. Now, I don't know, like we talked about a minute ago, how one goes about earning the moniker of the Magnificent, but if the decision is based on hat size, then Suleiman more than earned it.
Yes,
Google
he had a
him.
huge turban.
Google him and look at his hat, you mighty, and despair.
Marvel.
It is preposterously large and lovely. Clement did not have much of an army, and because he had given out so many positions and favors to members of the Medici family, he had nearly bankrupted the church, so he did not have many cards to play against Suleiman. In one of the few strokes of luck in this story, Suleiman was unable to conquer Vienna, so he never turned his magnificent hat towards Rome, which would have surely fallen. But the bad news for Clement was that Eastern Europe was now under Muslim control, and the church was basically cut off from that region and all the wealth and power that came with it. And there was an ongoing war in Europe between the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V, and the King of France, Francis I. Both these kings wanted the support of the church on their side, and given that both these kings had huge armies and the Catholic Church did not, it was imperative that Clement chose the winning side. It won't be a surprise that, he didn't.
Oh, no.
Fearing the rising power of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, who was also the Archduke of Austria, King of Spain, Lord of the Netherlands, Duke of Burgundy, and head of the House of Habsburg. I told you these guys like titles.
Yeah.
Pope Clement sided with the French king in opposition. When the French lost to Charles, his forces marched on Rome to exact revenge. During the short siege of Rome, the on-the-ground general, Charles of Bourbon, which is now my official quarantine title, Doug of Bourbon, fell off a ladder and died. This was
What was he doing?
He was fixing a light bulb.
He was changing a light bulb, exactly.
Leave him alone.
I always put the angel on top of the tree. That's my thing. Whoa!
Well,
Do you guys see an invading horde on the way? Because I think I will.
The death of this general was a bigger deal than expected because Charles had a habit of not feeding or paying his troops.
Oh, whoopsie-doo.
Whoopsie-doo. Now these roughly 34,000 starving troops found themselves leaderless and at the walls of one of the wealthiest cities in the world. The fact that many of these troops were German Protestants was not helpful. It's not hard to predict what happened yet. On May 6th, 1527, the troops entered and sacked the city of Rome.
I think this is the incident where the holy prepuce was stolen from the Vatican.
Really?
Yeah, by a German soldier who wasn't paid. I'm assuming this is probably the same.
It has to be. Yeah,
incident,
that's got to be it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Clement's meager pantalooned forces were hopelessly outnumbered, and the city fell quickly. Some 6,000 to 12,000 people died in the sack, and many more died in the days and weeks after because of all the rotting corpses. There was an outbreak of the plague.
That'll get you. That'll happen.
Although the mob murdered, raped, and pillaged their way through the city, for the most part, they didn't burn it down. It seems that they were more interested in stealing than destroying, which is the reason that anything survived in Rome to this day.
That was nice of them.
Yeah. I guess that's...
Oh, this guy, man. It's like FDR.
I like a good invading horde with manners.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like FDR. It's like, here's a depression and a World War II. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, the Italian Renaissance technically limped along for a few more decades, but the sack of Rome by the very incorrectly titled Holy Roman Emperor is generally accepted as the kind of the true end of the Italian Renaissance. Rome itself would not recover for decades. Pope Clement was captured and imprisoned by Charles's forces. He paid a ransom of 400,000 ducati to avoid execution, and then managed to escape his imprisonment in the Castel Sant'Angelo some 6 months later. While in captivity, he grew a protest beard, which is true, and then kept it until his death. Although popes were supposed to be clean-shaven, Clement didn't seem to care. and at least a couple dozen further popes would follow his example in the next 200 years and grow beards.
It's so funny how impressionable popes are. They're just, any fad they'll just go with.
After his escape, Clement returned to a Rome that was just a bit different from the one he entered at the beginning of his papacy. England and Germany were gone forever. Eastern Europe was under Muslim control. What military assets he had were dead. Rome was a ruin, and the church was bankrupt.
Jesus.
Not exactly a CV you would be very proud of.
They had most of Italy and a little bit of Switzerland, and that's it.
Exactly. On the plus side, he did commission The Last Judgment by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel and The Transfiguration by Raphael, which are two more masterpieces than I've commissioned, so there's that. He died of stomach illness in December of 1533 after spending his last couple years trying to shore up what was left of his once dominant religion. His papacy is generally considered to be one of, if not the worst in history.
Wow.
This is,
and
of
there
course,
are some stinkers.
That's right, but this, of course, depends on who you're rooting for. I am, of course, rooting against the Catholic Church, so I say more Clements.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to say that the Catholic Church was dismantled and didn't continue to exist and do considerable damage to the world to this day, but unfortunately I can't say that.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to feel a little bit bad for this guy, though. It's not like some other dude could have possibly done better under the circumstances.
Right.
He just had bad timing.
Yeah, he
inherited
seems,
all of the worst things.
He seems like of any random pope, he was probably better equipped than most to deal with this, smart guy, educated.
Yep.
All that stuff.
Italian Renaissance star.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess the main takeaway from the story is before you accept any position of authority, look around first.
Yeah.
If you happen to see an irritated German, a horny Brit, a very well-dressed Turk, and a bloodthirsty Belgian all looking at you suspiciously, maybe take a pass.
or start a party, because that sounds fun.
Yeah, this is the problem. See, I've always said this is the problem with LinkedIn. You just get recommended for any stupid job that comes up, right? So it just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So yeah, a series of unfortunate events.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, poor Pope Clement. He's dead.
Yeah, that's true.
All
okay,
right.
let's move on
Let's
then.
move on.